It's time for another Norse pagan pet peeve. Wiccatru. Let me start out by saying all pagans are valid. As long as your beliefs don't cause harm, they are valid. Now for the however. However, if you're either not being honest or not understanding that UPG being stated as fact is harmful, there's a problem. Not citing your personal gnosis as unverified personal gnosis spreads misinformation. Now, I prefer teaching over callouts. Even my call-out type videos are me teaching about what and why certain people are incorrect. I'm really only making this video because I'm tired of seeing these clickbait sensationalists. They know controversy and flash boosts their numbers, and they never cite their sources or their UPG. It gives TikTok and YouTube creators actually doing the hard work a bad name. Hopefully, this will change some minds and improve the standards we hold for content creators, but we'll see. Before I get into the individual that inspired this video, let's go over some brief history. Modern paganism at large was heavily influenced by Victorian Orientalism, hence all the Crowley Egyptian stuff. And later, in the 1950s, Gerald Gardner created Wicca. Yep, modern Wicca isn't even 100 years old. For a more in-depth history, I suggest the Heathen History podcast. But the down and dirty is that Gardner compiled many different beliefs and possibly utilized Freemasonry, another Orientalist organization, and wrote a bit while being a nudist in conservative England. Now, if you're Wiccan or have Wicca influences in your religious practices, cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Just understand the history to understand your path. Citation holds us accountable. Say it again. Citation holds us accountable. Now, the inspiration. Vorther. This self-proclaimed vulva mostly makes these quick videos with no historical basis or cited UPG. Here they are talking about Fehu.
I mean, in really simple modern day terms, it can be used for money wealth, yeah. But that's really not what that rune means, like, at all. Oh, well, then what does it mean? It's the primordial mothers.
It's all nonsense. The sparse information we have on the meaning of the runes comes from their names and small blurbs in the various rune poems. In the Saxon, it says about Fehu, the first rune, "Wealth is comfort to every man, although every man must share it out greatly, if he would obtain a portion of the Lord's glory." There's also a Norwegian and Icelandic. We know very little about actual runes. And if the content creator doesn't state a damn thing about the historical sources, expect that it's uncited UPG and a bad source. I'm planning on an in-depth video myself, but a really good source is Diana Paxson's Taking Up the Runes. Each chapter is about another rune, and it's a tome of information. Vorther, who also misspells their own name Vorder, more not knowing what Eths are, makes tons of misinformed videos like this. If it had a UPG disclaimer, cool. But it doesn't. The other hot take I need to dispel from Vorther is our old pal racism.
No, Norse paganism is not an open practice.
We just can't seem to move past this little pest. I don't know about you, but I'm getting pretty tired of explaining the history of white supremacy to every chucklehead that's looking to gain clout. They don't understand what a closed practice is. Of course not. Here's a fun idea. Listen to Indigenous people about what their definition is. Closed practices do not require blood quantums. You can be adopted into a clan tribe tradition. Also, there are no unbroken traditions in heathenry. We have to reconstruct. Some passed down folk tradition, yes, but that's the various arts of cunning folk. That's herbalism and local healing arts, and likely they're heavily Christianized. We see that in the Icelandic staves. They're not closed practices, and there are no closed practices in heathenry used to justify gatekeeping based on lineage, i.e. blood quantums, family lines, etc. Vorther literally used the days of the week to justify their gatekeeping.
Even the days of the week, those have to do with the Norse gods, literally.
How? Why? That's some deep logic gymnastics you're doing there. The days of the week even have Latin cognates. That's why Saturday is named for the Roman Saturn. At least do some research before creating this sad clickbait. They then justify their gatekeeping in a follow-up, citing anecdotes from people giving to Norse spirits.
I have seen people, and not just one person, I've seen people multiple people who have made offerings to the Norse spirits whose ancestors don't come from Norse people, and those gods and those spirits have had it out with them to correct them, because you have to have a form of ancestry. Your ancestors of love need to give you the go-ahead in love, no matter the house of gods that you're working with. Because walking into Norse heathenry requires, if you're going to call yourself a vulva, requires initiation. You must be initiated by the spirit.
Of course, after claiming they support indigenous peoples, they're stating McNallen's metagenetics argument. Basically, the argument is the blood connects you to the gods/spirits of your ancestors. This is bullshit. We know the arch-heathens adopted and mingled with other cultures and people. Hell, the Kievan Rus were intermarrying with the Slavs. That's possibly the reason Russia is called Russia. And steppe peoples, like the Huns and possibly Mongols, also intermarried. We have evidence of this in the sagas. Some Icelandic people can even trace their lineage back to the quote-unquote Black Viking who was likely of steppe culture, possibly of Mongolian descent. The gods don't give a fuck about your bloodline. That comes from the racial hierarchies of the Christian colonizers Vorther said they're against.
You all realize that being white, claiming the word white as what you look like, upholds the origin of race hierarchy.
Not history, not spiritual UPG justification. And Vetir are local. They're the spirits of hearth, home, and land. They're in your immediate vicinity, wherever you live. Of course, giving to Norse spirits, Norse land Vetir wouldn't make sense if you're not in a Scandinavian country. They're not around you. Here is the bombshell. This is part of your how to spot a bad source training. Multiple times they say, of love.
Ancestors of love, in love.
Some of you already know. This is some light worker bullshit. This is love and light, man. If you're unaware, the love and light stuff comes from well-meaning crunchy types. Unfortunately, it gets turned into conspiracy theory dribble pretty quick. It's also full of toxic positivity. And something you need to understand about hate. It cannot exist without conspiracy. It needs to believe in a grand cabal. In fact, the word cabal is part of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. I doubt Vorther will understand. They'll likely double down on their beliefs, or block me and continue to make misinformed videos that the rest of the pagan content community will have to dispel. But with that, hopefully I've better prepared some of you for the next time a clickbait troll pops up demanding clout through bad faith arguments and unsighted UPG. Do your research. Be better tomorrow than you were yesterday. We are the sum of our actions. Skål!